Protect you from the IRS. Call Civic Tax Relief for free information now. Find out about the Fresh Start program that is now available through Civic Tax Relief. Civic Tax Relief's special tax hotline can help you discover all the relief programs available for free.
Just call 800-841-0908. 800-841-0908. 800-841-0908.
My name is Dale Pazinski. I volunteer with United Way to help the homeless in my community learn computer skills and build a basic resume. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
This is WBNW 1120 AM, the Money Matters Radio Network. This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275CM FM. Concord, Boston, the Money Matters Radio Network.
This
environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange quick tip of the day. And today we're talking about estate tax reduction and asset protection strategies that can help reduce or eliminate your estate taxes. Todd, there have been major changes with the Massachusetts exemption amounts. What is the new exemption for the state? Does that mean that a married couple living in Massachusetts with $4 million in assets could eliminate their estate taxes?
So, yes, there has been some changes. Now we're almost a full year in, of course, heading into a second year into the change. The change is now $2 million. It used to be $1 million for estate tax exemption. Now it's up to $2 million. And yes, if you are married, but you actually do trust planning, you can shelter $4 million. But folks, that doesn't mean that's all you do. For folks with $3 million that want to eliminate taxes, we can do that. But we can also think about protecting assets from the cost of long-term care. It allows us to do both a little easier now with a higher estate tax exemption. So think about ways in which you can use the irrevocable trust to not only shelter and be able to reduce your estate tax by sheltering up to $2 million on the death of each spouse, but also starting that important 5-year waiting period running to protect those assets from the cost of long-term care.
The law firm of Cushing & Dolan have been helping families like yours for more than 40 years. Request your copy of Todd's brand new guide. It's called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. You can call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699, or you can request the guide from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Sometimes we know what's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
The Financial Exchange and Veterans Development Corporation are proud partners of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for single veterans and for those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit davma.org. That's davma.org.
Financial planning is a year-round job, and with 2024 coming to an end, now is the perfect time to take a hard look at your strategy and what changes you may want to make going forward. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our new guide may help you understand some key numbers that could affect your planning next year. There are many important topics to review, like marginal tax brackets and retirement account income limits. If you're retired or getting ready to retire, the guide also focuses on the many ways that the government taxes your Social Security benefits. Take the time now to reflect on your current strategy so you can be fully prepared for any adjustments you may want to make in the future. Get your copy of our new guide, Key Numbers to Know for 2025, by calling 800-393-4001. That number again is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
As a busy mom, my to-do list is full.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
Visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting DAV5K.Boston and making a donation today. The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
Chuck, Mike, and Tucker with you, kicking off another week here on the Financial Exchange. And our top story today is going to be the events that unfolded in Syria over the weekend, as the Syrian government, led by Bashar al-Assad, has effectively been toppled by rebel forces in a span of 2 weeks now. Pretty quick in terms of the actual events that led to this. And we touched on this a little bit last week. It doesn't seem like something that a lot of people have been talking about. I know it's not as sexy as talking about like the Department of Government Efficiency or talking about hey, what did we see from the JOLTS report last week? But ultimately something that I think is very important for a number of different reasons, and I want to get into quite a few of these because there's some meat on this one here, and this has the potential to be a watershed moment as far as what it means in global geopolitics. So let's talk about the state of play before the last 2 weeks. Back in 2011, as part of the Arab Spring movement, you had a whole bunch of uprisings throughout the Middle East, one of which was in Syria. The Syrian government, led by al-Assad and backed predominantly by Russia and Iran, cracked down on the protests with pretty, violent tactics and basically some of the worst human rights violations that we've seen in modern history. Some of the stuff that's coming out of the prisons that have been liberated in the last 48 hours is about as bad as you'll see. And the state of play in Syria basically devolved into a 13-year civil war, the vast majority of which, happened prior to 2018, 2019, and then the last 3 to 4 years have kind of just been a steady state where you've had these rebel groups that have been present predominantly in the northern and eastern parts of the country. And by and large, there hasn't been a whole lot going on aside from some occasional skirmishes, some occasional airstrikes and things like that, but not too much that has been of note, as kind of jaded as that is to say.
Yeah, and I think, again, how much of this do we pay attention to on a day-to-day basis here in the United States? Very little, but probably what you've been seeing on the ground is less influence from Iran and Russia, especially recently, given their attention being drawn elsewhere, largely Ukraine and other borders with Israel.
So if you try to put together a diagram of all the different groups in Syria and who supports them and who they're supporting and so on and so forth, it's freaking messy because there are no clear lines because the area has just been ravaged by war for the last decade and a half. And so there are no clear lines as far as, hey, these are the good guys and these are the bad guys and here's what you should want. So if excuse me, if you're looking for us to tell you, hey, like, this is good or bad and here's who you should like, you can take that and shove it. Like, there's just no way to do that because the area has been, quite honestly, a wasteland for the last 13 years. And that's the main reason why you've had tens of millions of people fleeing Syria into Europe. You can actually look today, like, you go through and look at the social media reporting on what's going on right now. There are lines of people waiting to get back into Syria right now, right, for the first time in a decade. So you look at this and who is ostensibly in charge of the new regime that is in Syria.
Which, in charge at this stage, let's caveat that 9 ways from Sunday. Like, yeah, seemingly in charge, but who knows what that will actually mean 3 weeks from now.
Yeah, look, again, ostensibly just like who has, the keys to the kingdom at the moment. Mm-hmm. And it is a group by the name of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. And they're known by the acronym HTS, just because that's what that shortens to. And there are elements of HTS that are formed from the remnants of Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, as well as from ISIS. So, like, there are some bad dudes inside this group, to be clear. The leader, Abdul Muhammad al-Jawani, is someone who has gone through what's the right way to phrase this? An extreme makeover over the last year or two. Similar, quite honestly, to what you've seen from the Taliban in a similar time period, trying to put on a more polished front, be a little bit more westernized in terms of communication methods and presentation, and also, quite honestly, making some overtures to persecuted minorities throughout the Syrian region as well, whether they be Christians, whether they be Kurds, Druze. Like, you go through the list, and by and large, it seems like there's been some pretty strong communication and negotiation going through behind the scenes on this, which on its surface suggests the possibility that HTS is less Islamist than it used to be. It doesn't prove that, and ultimately how they end up governing, if they're able to govern, is going to be what ends up proving this out one way or another. But to this point, like, just as an example, HTS, as they went through Aleppo, one of the other major cities in Syria, they put a Christian priest in charge of the city, which is something that if you are a true believer Islamist, you just don't do even as a nice thing. Like, it's just kind of fundamentally not there. So it's, again, hard to tell what's real and what isn't about this extreme makeover that HTS has gone through in the last year or two. I think that it really is going to have to, the proof's going to be in the pudding in terms of how they attempt to govern. But as someone who, again, for the last 48 hours, really for the last week or so, I've been following this pretty closely. I have a couple buddies who are pretty plugged into it, just who, again, kind of know their stuff about what's going on here. And their view on it is basically, hey, HTS has been doing all the necessary legwork to try to build up a successful state in the event that they emerge as the leader of it. Whether or not it's for real or not, it's going to take some time to figure out what they actually are today and who they claim who they claim to be. Just because you don't have to look back that far to be like, yeah, these were the people that were going through, and basically if you weren't a strict Salafist, they were saying, yeah, off with your head, quite literally. Right. And so it's hard to tell exactly where this is going to go, but again, I don't think you can really look at anyone who has lived through a 13-year civil war and say that they're either all good or all bad, simply because everyone living through that would do good things, bad things, horrible things, and everything in between, just because you're trying to survive. So
what the time's called for.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say these are good people or bad people. I'm just trying to say we don't know how this is actually going to play out now that they have access to the levers of power.
So, real quickly, do you sense that this means much of anything for Middle East energy? Syria was not generating much in terms of oil production over the last few years. It does speak to Russia's either lack of interest or waning influence in the area. Any big takeaways if you are sitting here in the United States pretty removed from this?
The two big ones in my mind. Number one, Russia and Iran's influence is diminished significantly. I mean, Iran basically over the last 3 decades built a wall of proxies that could do its fighting for it, one of which was the al-Assad government in Syria, Hezbollah being another, Hamas being another. The only one that's kind of left, there's this situation going on in Yemen that still is civil war-ish and pretty horrible. But by and large, like Iran's proxies, they are all reduced in terms of their ability to act as actual fighting forces now.
Yep.
Like it's just not, they're just not there. So I think there is the very real possibility that you see further action from Israel against Iran in the near future, and how that reshapes the potential Middle East as far as energy production and the geopolitics there, I think is pretty significant. The other takeaway is specifically with regards to Russia. Russia and Vladimir Putin in particular has a premise in a thought that he puts out there that, look, Russia does not abandon its allies. In the last week, that's exactly what Russia did in Syria, simply because the situation wasn't tenable. They were pulling, whether you're talking planes, boats, whatever it is, away from the Syrian conflict in kind of recognition that, hey, this is not going to go the way that we need it to go. And we either can't or won't commit the resources to it in order to further what we had started, 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty notable as well, given the ongoing conflict in Ukraine right now. So ultimately, yeah, in terms of the actual economic impact of this on the world stage in and of itself, it's not huge. Syria is not a major economy, largely because it's been decimated by the last 15 years of civil war.
You've got estimates of 70 to 80% of the population living in poverty. This is not
and that's the ones who stayed.
Right.
Like that's not even counting all of the ones who exited just because they wanted nothing to do with the situation. But the other place that I think is interesting to watch on this is Turkey's influence and how it grows. Why don't we take a quick break? I want to touch on that and then what it means specifically for the U.S. when we come back.
Wall Street Watch, a full update on the market's performance to date. Weekdays at 10:30 only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way, so whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all three islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com. Early estate planning is crucial if you want to protect your assets and avoid massive tax consequences. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law and taxation, and their new free guide can help give you just that.
It's called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. In it, you'll learn how to keep your assets away from the nursing home while reducing and potentially eliminating your estate taxes. If you have an existing estate plan but aren't sure about your potential liability, or you need a new plan, call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699 and get this free guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. Don't leave your assets to chance. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request your guide online from our website, LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Financial planning is a year-round job, and with 2024 coming to an end, now is the perfect time to take a hard look at your strategy and what changes you may want to make going forward. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our new guide may help you understand some key numbers that could affect your planning next year. There are many important topics to review, like marginal tax brackets and retirement account income limits. If you're retired or getting ready to retire, the guide also focuses on the many ways that the government taxes your Social Security benefits. Take the time now to reflect on your current strategy so you can be fully prepared for any adjustments you may want to make in the future. Get your copy of our new guide, Key Numbers to Know for 2025, by calling 800-393-4001. That number again is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
The Financial Exchange Show podcast drops every day on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Hit that subscribe button and leave us a 5-star review. You're listening to the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. This year's 5K was another tremendous success. Every dollar raised supports a wide variety of initiatives like the DAV Transportation Program, which takes disabled vets to important medical appointments that supply both the physical and mental care they need. If you'd like to help our great American heroes this holiday season, visit DAV5K.Boston and make a donation today. We thank you again for your support. The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation.
Still talking a little bit about Syria, just because two other parties that I want to mention in this that we haven't really gotten into. The first is Turkey. And Turkey, wow. I mean, like, where do I start and how do I say this in a way that allows me to actually say it on the air? So, Tayyip Erdogan, who is the president of Turkey right now, he was originally the prime minister of Turkey from, I think, 2003 through 2014 before he, assumed the office of president. And the thing about Erdogan, well, there's two things. The first is he's an a-hole. Like, just completely. Like, the second is number one. And basically, he has an uncontrollable lust for power and trying to make himself look bigger than he is, and will do basically anything necessary in order to do so. The first, 10 years that he was in power in Turkey as the prime minister, the whole premise of it was, hey, I'm restoring democracy, I'm secularizing the nation, I'm trying to make it more westernized, and he was hailed as this visionary who saw where the puck was going and was skating towards it. the last 10 years, he's basically turned into an Islamist and has gone the exact opposite way, including, basically trying to needle everyone out there whenever possible just to remind them that he's there. And the only reason why he even has any power at all is because Turkey occupies such a central and important piece of land in the world. And other than that, no one would even care or think about this guy because he's
not. Maybe not nuts, but he has some pretty wacky policies.
He's just a loser. Like that's just the deal. And look, I'm kind of, I'm a little bit biased on this because Turkey basically all they do on a regular basis, oh, hey, it's been 2 weeks since we bombed the Kurds. Let's go bomb some Kurds somewhere. Hey, you know what? Way back in the day, we killed a bunch of Armenians. Are we ever going to apologize for that? No, we're not, even though maybe we should. So I'm a little bit biased against Turkey, like in general, just because Erdogan is not a nice dude and generally just tries to beat up on everyone smaller than himself in order to make him look tall.
Okay, so shares a massive border with Syria.
But here's the thing. Erdogan has been one of the prime supporters of HTS, who is going into a leadership role in Syria right now. So potentially a pivotal move for Turkey in terms of their influence there. And remember, Turkey's part of the EU. They're part of NATO. And so this stuff matters because ultimately you're talking about how this ends up factoring into U.S. geopolitics. Right. And the U.S. and Turkey, they don't really get along well right now, and they haven't for the last 8 to 10 years. Turkey, when the F-35 program was being developed, Turkey was one of, I think, either 5 or 6 countries that was selected to be part of the manufacturing process for the F-35. They were going to make, I forget if it was the engines or what, they were going to be involved there. Turkey back in the mid-2010s signs a deal with Russia for S-400 anti-air missile systems, and the U.S. basically goes, you kidding, bro? Like, you're going to do what? Because here's the problem for the U.S. Okay, so you've got S-400 missile systems that are Russian, and you're making American planes, specifically the most advanced ones. Hey, you've got a whole bunch of data that can be shared if those S-400s start, just in practice or whatever, painting F-35s with their radar in order to see what the radar signature looks like. So the U.S. kicked Turkey out of the F-35 program, and it's pretty much been downhill since then. But the U.S., for lack of a better word, has an interest in Syria being stable, just because the instability in Syria creates instability in the EU, which in turn influences how the U.S. behaves. So does the U.S. try to find some way to play nice? Because the U.S. is influencing other groups in Syria as well right now. There is a group called the SDF that the U.S. has been heavily backing. There are, I think, still about like 800 or 1,000 troops in Syria that are U.S. troops that occasionally when the Turks get a little bit out of control and, going after the Kurds, the U.S., has a couple operations and is like, hey, we're still here, don't mess with us, is the best way I can put it. So the U.S. has an interest in a stable Syria, but I don't know how interested they are in having HTS be the leader of that stable Syria. And so there's going to be some negotiations and things that go on between the U.S. and Turkey in terms of figuring out how this all works.
Yeah, I think in terms of that stability that the United States wants, the last thing on the list they want is a whole bunch of people, again, trying to flee a war-torn area.
There's not that many more that can
Europe,
flee. Like, if you haven't left at this point, like, you're
it's been
probably
a 13-year civil war. So, it's tough to imagine how it gets worse than it has been for the 13 years, but see Libya, see Iraq, see Afghanistan for, not so distant history in terms of how it can get, if not worse, then I guess similarly and differently ugly.
Other things that we just still don't know right now. It's unclear if al-Assad is actually still alive. The Russian government has claimed that he is in Moscow and has claimed asylum there. But there was I don't know if it was a Russian or a Syrian transport plane, an IL-76, that took off yesterday that basically disappeared from radar after a quick drop. And no one is entirely sure if he wasn't on that plane because he has not actually been seen in public during this time. So it's unclear exactly whether he's alive or not, and that has some implications, as to how this goes from here as well. Let's take a quick break. That's enough Syria talk for right now. When we come back, we're going to be talking TikTok and NVIDIA. We've also got Wall Street Watch after this.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @TFE Show. Breaking business news is always first, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Heads up, athletes, coaches, and parents. Play for life, not just points. Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or HCM, is the leading cause of sudden cardiac death, especially in black athletes in sports like football or basketball. If you feel shortness of breath, chest pain, and fatigue, or have a family history of HCM, talk to your doctor. Don't let HCM bench you for good. Learn how to stay in the game at heart.org/HCM student athlete. Your heart, your health, your move.
Protect your assets and avoid tax consequences by getting Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. You'll learn how to keep your assets away from the nursing home while potentially eliminating your estate taxes. Get yours today by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
The Financial Exchange and Veterans Development Corporation are proud partners of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for single veterans and for those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit davma.org. That's davma.org.
Sometimes we know it's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way, so whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all three islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our guide this month is titled Key Numbers to Know for 2025. Mike, when it comes to 401ks and their contribution limits, 2025 is a little bit unique in that it is the first year of the super catch-up limit.
It is, yeah. So there's a brand new contribution excess amount that you can put into your retirement plan, but only for a very specific window. You must be between the ages of 60 and 63 to participate in this special super catch-up contribution, according to the Secure Act 2.0. And so there's a little bit extra that you might be able to put in if you fall into that age demographic.
So how much is the normal 401k max? How much is the regular catch-up? And then how much is the super catch-up?
Yeah, so for the normal 401k contribution limits, the most that you can put in 2025 is going to be $23,500. If you are over the age of 50, you can do an extra $7,500 into that 401k. And then finally, if you just happen to be in that narrow band, you can do an additional $3,750 catch-up contribution on top of everything else that we already went through.
Folks, our guide this month is titled key numbers to know for 2025, and this is just one of the numbers that's included in it. We also have discussions about IRA contribution limits, tax brackets, a whole bunch of different things that are included in here. How do you request the guide? Call 800-393-4001. That number again to request the guide is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Time now for Wall Street Watch. A complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Markets are seeing modest losses to begin the week as Wall Street readies for a CPI inflation reading on Wednesday morning, followed by the producer price index on Thursday morning. At the moment, the Dow is off by only 23 points. S&P 500 is down by 0.3% or 18 points, and the NASDAQ is off by 0.33% or 66 points. Russell 2000 is up by over 0.2% or 16 points. 10-year Treasury yield is up by 3 basis points at 4.19%, and crude oil is up nearly 2.5% higher this morning, trading just below $69 a barrel. Some news out of chip and AI giant NVIDIA this morning, where China opened an antitrust probe into the chip maker a week after the U.S. placed additional export controls on China's access to high-end semiconductors. NVIDIA shares are off by over 2%. Chuck and Mike will have more on that item coming up. Breaking news out of the food industry as of half an hour ago, where Bloomberg is reporting that Mondelez is exploring an acquisition of iconic U.S. chocolate maker Hershey in a potential deal that would create a food giant with combined sales of almost $50 billion. Hershey shares are jumping 14% on the news, while Mondelez shares are down by 2%. A huge merger deal was announced in the advertising space, where Interpublic and Omnicom agreed to merge in a deal that will create the world's largest advertising firm by net revenue. Omnicom's stock is down by 6%, while Interpublic shares are jumping by 10%. And Macy's is up over 3% higher today after activist investors Barrington Capital called on the retailer to change its capital allocation plan and create a real estate unit to maximize the value of its owned assets. I'm Tucker Silva, and that's Wall Street Watch.
I have a question for you both before we go to TikTok.
Yes.
You're just talking about what are the names of the two publicist companies or the advertising companies? Intercom and
Omnicom and Interpublic.
Right. Okay. So
great names.
Generally speaking, business-to-business companies, even if they're massive, are not terribly well known. We've talked about this with like NVIDIA, right? Nobody actually knew what NVIDIA was, and I blame that primarily because they don't sell to individuals. They sell to businesses. Does NVIDIA sell to individuals?
Their bread and butter was graphics cards before all this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So, granted, I was like a huge nerd in high school.
Okay.
But
so, other companies do the same thing. What do you think is the best-known company that only really sells to other businesses?
Best-known company that only sells to other businesses?
I guess I included NVIDIA in there, and so I'm going to go primarily only sells to businesses or drives like 90+% of their revenue from businesses.
U.S. Steel.
Yeah, okay, because of its history.
How often do you go and just order an I-beam?
Right, no, never, but household name. I was going to say Salesforce is up there for me these days because they're so prevalent. I think even though they only sell to businesses, there's so many individual users. I don't know. I thought it was intriguing that still people today don't really understand what it is that NVIDIA does, and there's lots of other companies like that. These two advertising companies, right? They created Got Milk, and I've never heard of them.
Most well known. Yeah, I'm trying to go through and think of like who else would fall into that category, and again, the ones where you look at it, you're like, oh, like, yeah, they're big, but yeah, no one knows them. And I wouldn't include something like an ExxonMobil. Technically, they don't sell to you.
Right.
But but
the brand's still,
it's kind of nitty gritty. Like when you go to an Exxon station,
yeah,
it's, hey, ExxonMobil has sold to that station, and that station has bought the branding, but that's basically a franchise model. That'd be like saying McDonald's is...
Doesn't.
I don't think that holds up, really. Yeah, I would go...
U.S. Steel's, that's a fair one. Only because it's history.
Other ones who sell only to, like, corporations, I'm
Oracle?
Yeah, that's in the conversation.
Yep.
That's in the conversation, I think.
Yep.
Boeing?
Yeah. Sure.
You know?
Boeing's up there.
You know,
Boeing beats out Salesforce, most certainly.
Even though technically you can buy a Boeing jet.
But it falls into the same category as NVIDIA, right? Like 90+% of
the
their
average
sales
person's not going out and buying a Boeing jet.
Right.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Interesting thought exercise. We can move on. I was compelled by that one.
It's funny because then you literally do just get into all the defense contractors like Raytheon.
Sure. But not, again, Raytheon, incredibly well known here. Does the average American really set that as? No, probably not.
Okay. That was a good question, a good conversation. Let's talk about TikTok. This is a company that everyone knows. They are the social media company run by ByteDance, who is a Chinese firm.
With 170 million users in the United States. That's a compelling number.
And because of ByteDance being based in China and the Chinese having a national security law that requires ByteDance to hand over any information that the Chinese government requests.
Or any other company operating in China.
Yes, not just
not
ByteDance.
exclusive to ByteDance.
Because of that, the U.S. government earlier this year voted to pass a bill. So this was legislated. This was not an unelected judge making this decision. It wasn't an unelected bureaucrat. It was not me. It was not Tucker. This was the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate said we are going to ban TikTok from operating after January 19th, 2025, unless it is sold to a different buyer. That was affirmed by an appeals court judge last week. And now this is the sad part that you see, which is people have built legitimate businesses on TikTok. I know we always rip on people for being influencers and stuff like that. But the fact is, look, a lot of us are in businesses where if you really looked at it, you'd be like, come on, that can't be an actual business. So I don't bemoan anyone from getting their business off the ground on social media or being an influencer or anything else. Listen, we're all just trying to make a few bucks in order to try to, pay for whatever it is that we're doing.
By the way, the bill that passed in Congress, just so everyone's clear on this, when we talk about bipartisan pass, this thing passed with 360 yes votes.
You couldn't get that for, the sky is blue.
Right.
Actually, you could, but it would be close.
Yeah.
It'd be tight. So when you look at this, the sad part on this is the people that have built platforms on TikTok to be able to make a lot of money. And now, just by virtue of, hey, we built our business in a company that, quite honestly, if they decide not to sell it, it's evidence of two things. The first is it's evidence that TikTok never really cared about the money. And that all they wanted was the intelligence collection. Because if ByteDance actually cared about the value of the asset, they sell it. They don't just say, no, we'll let this go dark on January 19th.
Right. Or it's, you can't do that because you'll end up being disappeared in China. I could buy that too. Not caring about the money, or you do care about the money, but you understand that if you do go and sell it, then you will be disappeared in mainland China.
Maybe.
One half dozen the other.
I could see that being a case. But the other thing is, look, it's something where the parent of TikTok is also very clearly here saying, hey, all those people who built businesses on our platform, we don't care enough to throw you a lifeline.
Fair. Because they can get around this.
Right.
All they have to do.
All you have to do is sell to a U.S. company that's approved.
Right.
That's it. And it does not seem like that's going to be an effort that's made. So you get the stories that are coming out about people who spent, the last 5-6 years building these businesses on this platform. And as someone who, in the past has spent a lot of time building up, different social media presences for different things, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time.
It's a real job.
And ultimately, if it just goes away, you kind of look at it and you're like, man, why did I do that? And it's completely capricious where, the fact that you chose to build on TikTok instead of Snapchat or instead of on Twitter or wherever, you were saying, great, this is where the eyeballs are. This is where I need to go. It's not because How
Not
many
because you
people
love the
starting
Chinese
a business
government.
were like, you know what? You know who really loves small business? The Chinese Communist Party. Like that's not what anyone starting a TikTok channel is doing.
And generally, I feel for these creators too, because it's not really within their purview or their job to assess whether or not this is going to be shut down as a national security threat. Like I don't really put that on the arms of somebody who's building content on TikTok.
But this is also why I say, look, in order for people to be able to actually go and take risks, you need a baseline level of stability and safety, because if you are in a situation where, hey, if you're in China and companies are being shut down left and right for, random reasons that the Chinese government wants to, eventually you just say, look, I'm not going to do this because it's not worth it. And so this is why you need to be able to catch this stuff earlier than TikTok getting to 170 million users. You need a better plan for enforcing actions against Chinese companies than wait until it gets so big that everyone knows it, and by then it's already a problem. You need something better than that.
You do, but that's a very quick game of whack-a-mole. Like, I don't disagree, but think of the number of stuff that we import into the United States. It's not just social media platforms. It's everything else that's connected to the internet, and trying to shut it all down because it is a concern that they can share the data. Welcome to every single device that is connected to the internet in your home. Not every single. I'm exaggerating, but like that is important. I make this point.
We all choose different jobs and different roles in life. And for someone who's working at the U.S. government, whether they are a representative, a senator, whether they are in who's the group that handles the cybersecurity for the U.S. government? I can't remember. The guy who used to run, his name was Chris Krebs. I don't know what that. There's a group there that does this stuff. And then you've also got, CFIUS, the Council for Investment in U.S. Businesses. So you've got, U.S. government groups that their job is to not let stuff like this get to the point where it has 170 million U.S. users. Guys, you chose that job. We all chose our jobs. I have days where I don't want to get up and talk on the radio because I'm a little tired, but if I whined and complained about that, what am I really doing? You chose the job of assessing the risk of foreign companies starting businesses in the U.S. You got to deal with it. Yep. Them's the breaks. We don't just get to whine about it and say, oh, well, it's hard. Sorry, suck it up, Buttercup. I don't know. I don't have sympathy for someone who gets into a business and then complain, or not even a business, gets into a career and then just complains about the career and how hard it is.
Yeah, I'll put that mainly on Congress.
Right, either do a better job or get a different career. But you don't just get to whine about how hard it is. Sorry. There's a reason why I don't do that job, because I don't want to whine about how hard it is. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk about the other side of this, though. The potential for retaliation from China. NVIDIA in the news this morning. We'll tell you why.
The Financial Exchange streams live on YouTube. Like our page and stay up to date on breaking business news all morning long. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Financial planning is a year-round job, and with 2024 coming to an end, now is the perfect time to take a hard look at your strategy and what changes you may want to make going forward. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our new guide may help you understand some key numbers that could affect your planning next year. There are many important topics to review, like marginal tax brackets and retirement account income limits. If you're retired or getting ready to retire, the guide also focuses on the many ways that the government taxes your Social Security benefits. Take the time now to reflect on your current strategy so you can be fully prepared for any adjustments you may want to make in the future. Get your copy of our new guide, Key Numbers to Know for 2025, by calling 800-393-4001. That number again is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way, so whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange Quick Tip of the Day. And today, we're talking about estate tax reduction and asset protection strategies that can help reduce or eliminate your estate taxes. Todd, there are some high net worth clients that would like to reduce the size of their estate, but they don't want to give up access to their assets. Is there anything they can do?
There certainly is, folks. So this is a combination of things. One, you obviously want to do your basic estate planning first. Get your foundation in place, the basic revocable trust planning to help utilize whatever exemptions you don't use up through gifting. Now, when we talk about reducing the estate, we are talking about gifting. But as you said, they don't want to lose control. So there are these special trusts that are designed called spousal lifetime access trusts, where in essence, you use an LLC to keep control of the investments, manage the investments, and make distributions. And then the non-voting shares get put into these irrevocable trusts where you have each other's spouse has access to the assets. So there's a way of getting the assets into those irrevocable trusts, which are now growing outside of your estate tax-free, while at the same time working together to keep control and use what's in those trusts.
The law firm of Cushing & Dolan have been helping families like yours for more than 40 years. Request your copy of Todd's brand new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Miss any of the show? The Financial Exchange Show podcast is available on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Hit the subscribe button and leave us a 5-star review. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Last segment, we were talking a little bit about TikTok and the upcoming TikTok ban that will start in, I think, 43 days. The other side of this, early this morning, I wake up and I get a little buzz on my phone that says, hey, there's an update from CNBC, The Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, everyone who picked it up all at once. NVIDIA reportedly being probed by China's State Administration for Market Regulation for antitrust concerns. And, Mike...
Hard to read it as anything other than an immediate reaction.
Well, here's the thing. In China... you can have a monopoly as long as the government says that you can.
Yes.
We know this because in a number of industries, there basically are monopolies of Chinese state-owned enterprises. So the fact that NVIDIA is being looked at here, I have to believe, is very much, okay, fine, you're going to prevent our companies from operating easily in the U.S. We're going to do the same for the biggest one that you have here in China.
Stock is down 3% this morning, by the way, and you may be wondering because it's been pretty public that the Chinese and Chinese-based companies don't really have access to NVIDIA's highest order, most technologically advanced AI chips. The fact of the matter, though, is they also produce a whole bunch of them that are not that. They produce a lot of products that are sold across the globe and in China in particular that are not used for developing the latest AI models or this, that, or the other. And that hit to that business, you know, the revenues that they derive from those easier to manufacture and less complicated chips fund a lot of the research and development they do into these, most important ones. And so, yes, a ban on chip, production, or rather, chip consumption in the mainland China from even these lower end chips would be pretty darn bad for NVIDIA.
So this is something where, hey, if we are actually going to try to bring about some kind of fairness in trade with China, and, not just fairness in trade, but also, hey, realizing that we don't want Chinese entities snooping around at the behest of the, Chinese Communist Party, it's going to be some pain coming back. Like, this is not going to be free and easy. It's going to take a little bit of time and a little bit of work.
The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way, so whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all three islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean Paradise is waiting for you, so head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Mike, I want to go back to a topic that we were covering, I think it was a week ago, which was the opening debuts of Wicked and Moana 2.
How are they doing?
Not great.
Really?
Yes. Well, they're fine. Like, they're both going to make a ton of money.
Yep.
There's no problem there. I noted last week, hey, like, based on the early returns that we're seeing, the week-over-week drop-off is pretty light on Wicked, and so there's a chance this could be, something that runs for a while and ends up in a pretty good spot. I got a bit of egg on my face after this one.
Because it dropped off?
The dailies that we are seeing right now are anywhere from 58 to 71% drop-offs for this week. Actually, sorry, 48 to 71% drop-offs. Typical drop-off that you'd like to see is somewhere around 35 to 40, so they're coming in much, much steeper. Granted, some of this is, skewed because of the Thanksgiving week, but it's clear that Thanksgiving week was also propping things up a little bit. So, yes, Wicked is going to make a boatload of money, but it's not going to make 2 boatloads of money and be a top 10 movie all time in the U.S. gross.
Moana 2, similar story?
Moana 2 is right in the same boat. Actually, some steeper ones. Moana on Wednesday, which again, Thanksgiving Wednesday to this one, like tough comp, down 92%. Steep.
I'm just, finding myself as the parent of 3 daughters between the ages of 6 and 8. Shocked that they have no interest in going to see Moana 2. That was played so many times in our house. Moana 1.
My niece was all about it on day one.
But very interested in going to see Wicked, I think, because one of their friends is, big into, I think saw the Broadway play. I don't know. Can't make sense of it, but no big push to get them to Moana 2, which I am relieved about.
It does appear that...
Moana's good, Mike. Don't kid yourself.
Moana 1 was.
Yeah.
The second one does not have Lin-Manuel Miranda running the songs.
Oh,
I've heard that's a big drop-off.
Oh, boy.
Let's take a quick break. We got hour 2 coming up in a little bit.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you from Senior Care USA. The average funeral now costs over $10,000. That leaves your loved ones the burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay your family up to $30,000 to help pay for your funeral and other expenses. There are no medical exams. Your rates will never increase, and your plan cannot be canceled, regardless of your medical conditions, as long as you make your premium payments. Get up to $30,000 in final expense insurance. Call now for free information. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. That's 800-378-3818.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275 CM FM, Concord, Boston. The Money Matters Radio Network. Protect your assets and avoid tax consequences by getting Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. You'll learn how to keep your assets away from the nursing home while potentially eliminating your estate taxes. Get yours today by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
The Financial Exchange and Veterans Development Corporation are proud partners of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for single veterans and for those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit davma.org. That's davma.org.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Our guide this month is titled The Key Numbers to Know for 2025. Mike, one of the questions that we get asked quite often is, how much can I gift in any given year without having to file a tax return or pay any tax on it? What does that number look like for 2025?
Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of confusion about this, Chuck. I think there's a lot of folks who assume that when you give a gift or receive a gift, there's taxes due at the time. And that is almost never the case unless we are talking about tremendous dollar amounts.
Sure.
In 2025, the gift tax exclusion amount is going up to $19,000 from $18,000. That means that you can give up to $19,000 to any individual without having to file the special return of a gift.
What about if I am trying to make a gift in conjunction with a spouse? How does that work in terms of what we're able to do?
Yeah, I mean, you're able to double it immediately, right? So that $19,000 gets doubled. Keep in mind, too, that these are the gift tax limits per individual. And so you have seen people say, okay, I'm going to gift money to my son, my daughter-in-law, their 3 children. And in each of those cases, if you are married, that could be $38,000 per person without even have to file a tax return.
Our guide this month is titled The Key Numbers to Know in 2025, and it covers these numbers and a whole bunch more that can help you optimize your financial plan. We also have discussions about IRA contribution limits, tax brackets, a whole bunch of different things that are included in here. How do you request the guide? Call 800-393-4001. Again, that number is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all 3 and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime.
Each island is special in its own unique way, so whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Are you retired like me and you just found out you owe the IRS a ton of money? Well, what would your life be like if they took your retirement savings away from you? They can do it and your property. If you owe the IRS back taxes or you haven't filed in a while, the Tax Relief Line is here to help you. They can stop the IRS from taking your retirement savings. If you qualify, you could have your tax bill reduced to 0. That's right. If you're retired and you owe the IRS a lot in back taxes, you could have your entire tax bill reduced to 0 due. The IRS has now hired thousands of new employees, so they're ready to come after you. Don't let them take your retirement savings or property. Make this free call now.
800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. That's 800-251-2153.
Heads up, athletes, coaches, and parents. Play for life, not just points. Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or HCM, is the leading cause of sudden cardiac death, especially in black athletes in sports like football or basketball. If you feel shortness of breath, chest pain, and fatigue, or have a family history of HCM, talk to your doctor. Don't let HCM bent you for good. Learn how to stay in the game at heart.org/HCM student athlete. Your heart, your health, your move.
The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting DAV5K.Boston and making a donation today. The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
Kicking off the second hour here, it's Chuck, Mike, and Tucker within. We got stocks selling off modestly today. Not a huge downward move, but a downward move nonetheless. Dow is off 89 points, about a little less than 0.25%. S&P's down 31, about 0.5%. The Nasdaq down 134, about 0.75% downward move on the Nasdaq. And so all 3 major U.S. indices are drifting somewhat negatively. Again, nothing huge, but some downward movement here. 10-year U.S. Treasury selling off a little bit as well, up 3.3 basis points to 4.186. Still in a little bit of a downtrend, but showing maybe a little bit of firmness in the mid-teens there for the 10-year U.S. Treasury. We've got oil up $1.47 to $68.67 a barrel right now. That largely on the back of China throwing some more stimulus at their economic problems. AAA national average for gas prices flat overnight at $3.01 0.8. So we still can't get below that $3 mark nationally. We are just knocking on the door right now. We need just a little bit of help to get there, but we're getting close. We're getting close. Pennsylvania not helping us out there. Gas prices actually have moved up a touch over the last week. I don't know exactly why. It can be any one of like 63 million factors technically. But Pennsylvania is what's holding us back right now. So get those prices down, Pennsylvania. And then we've got gold today moving up just a bit as well, up 31.30 an ounce to $26.90 and 90 cents. Mike, there's a piece in the Wall Street Journal here. It's titled, "Can Stocks Pull Off a Third Consecutive Year of Big Gains?" What do they say? Can it? Can they?
Yeah.
Can them? Can them? Can us? Can
it?
y'all? Can ye?
Probably not a great way to look at
Kanye?
it or even ask the question. I suppose you could pull a statistical analysis of how many years have generated. What did 23 do in terms of total return on the S&P? 20+%, right?
Give me a second. Give me just 1 second. I got to pull it up. By year you want?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 2023 total return was 26.29.
Okay.
This year, thus far, is 29.34.
So, you could certainly run a statistical analysis on how many years have generated 3 years in a row of 20+% returns, and I'm sure it's some very small fraction of them, but it doesn't really tell you much of anything, and I don't think that this article tells you really much of anything other than it'll probably be a challenge because it's probably pretty rare for it to happen. I think a more useful question, perhaps, if you are, I'm trying to think of who might be reading an article like this and trying to do something with it. Maybe you have recently come into money that you need to invest, or you are trying to get educated on markets and investing for your first time. I think maybe a more interesting and more informative piece would be, how have equity markets fared historically when they've been relatively expensive as they are now, rather than, hey, can they pull off a third consecutive year of big gains? Again, like markets have pulled off 3 consecutive years of great gains in the past when they've been coming from really low starting points. It's been a great time to invest even after they've done so. There have been other points where, late 90s, for example, you get 3 years of fantastic returns in a row prior to one of the biggest sell-offs in all time.
Not 3 years of fantastic returns in a row. 5.
Of 20+% returns?
One of them was not like 19.9, so you didn't quite get there. But
sure.
Again, so here's what you saw in the 90s, just as an example. Actually, no, it was 5 of 20 plus for total return. I was just looking at
price return.
Price return?
Yep.
95 was 37. 96, 22. 97, 33. 98, 28. 99, 20. Great stat from Bank of America. I'm surprised that this Wall Street Journal piece didn't include this in it, because Bank of America published this like 3 weeks ago in November. But the S&P 500 has been up greater than 20% for 2 years, 4 times in the past 150 years. This even predates the official S&P 500. It's going back to its predecessors. The first one, any guesses as to when the first time this happened was?
1919.
1927 and 28. The bad news, 1929, came after.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Tough one. And then 1930 came after. The market lost 12% in 29 and 28% in 1930 and kicked off the Great Depression. Not great. Next one, 1935-36, made 42 and 28%. What did it do the next 2 years? Lost 39 and then made 25. Okay, so didn't get it on that one. Next one, 1945 and 1955. I remember it like it was yesterday. Up 45% in 54, up 26% in 55. Squeaked out a 3% gain in 56 before being down 14 in 57.
So I think the key here is, in these historical examples, not every single one of them leads to devastation in markets.
No. The only one where you saw the follow-through was in 95, 96, and in that case, you did see, positive movement, actually. So, okay, great. There in 97, you saw, 31%. 98, you saw 27. And so the question is, hey, what do we get in 25 and 26? Ultimately, hey, this is such a small sample size, it doesn't mean anything.
Nothing. It means nothing.
A sample size of 4. Imagine flipping a coin 4 times, and it comes up heads all 4, and you go to your buddy and you're like, hey, Jimmy.
Got a magic coin.
I got a magic coin. We got to go play the ponies.
Yeah, that's stupid.
That's basically what you're doing with a sample size of 4.
So again, I think useful analyses might be some bigger sample sizes. You have some decent number of sample sizes when you talk about equity markets with valuations, PE ratios over 18, 19, 20, for example, and then looking at how markets have fared for decades after that. Again, tells you nothing about the... Just threw my pen because I'm so excited about
all
this.
Fired up here.
Tells you nothing about the short-term timing of markets, but might indicate to you what your long-term perspective should be of how things might fare over a decade. But reading into what happened in the last 2 years and then what's going to happen in the third year, I don't know. Like Chuck said, flip a coin.
And you have no idea. Like just admit you don't know based on It's printed in every single disclosure that any financial institution that invests in puts out. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Staple it on your forehead. Don't actually do that. That would hurt. Use like a nice light tape, like a masking tape or something like that. Comes off easily. It comes off too easily for a Post-it note. You want something that sticks.
Painter's tape.
Not sticky enough.
Not enough stick?
Not enough stick.
Masking tape?
I'm thinking masking tape, which I wonder what the key difference is between that and painter's tape because they seem like cousins.
I would just go with whatever they use at waxing salons and see what happens.
I've never been to a waxing salon.
Nor have I, but I've seen 40-Year-Old Virgin. And
no
it
comment.
Looks funny.
Let's take a quick break. When we come back, trivia right after this.
Text us 617-362-1385 with your comments and questions about today's show, and let us know what you think about the stories we're covering. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. If you run a small business, mismanaged inventory can be a major problem for you and your customers. SAB Solutions has been a trusted advisor in helping companies with inventory management for more than 15 years. Using real-time data and digital technology, SAB Solutions can transform your traditional storeroom into an intelligent warehouse, making your business operate more efficiently. For more information, call 508-359-8370. That's 508-359-8370. Or visit them online at sabsolutionsma.com.
The Financial Exchange and Veterans Development Corporation are proud partners of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for single veterans and for those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit davma.org. That's davma.org.
Financial planning is a year-round job, and with 2024 coming to an end, now is the perfect time to take a hard look at your strategy and what changes you may want to make going forward. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our new guide may help you understand some key numbers that could affect your planning next year. There are many important topics to review, like marginal tax brackets and retirement account income limits. If you're retired or getting ready to retire, the guide also focuses on the many ways that the government taxes your Social Security benefits. Take the time now to reflect on your current strategy so you can be fully prepared for any adjustments you may want to make in the future. Get your copy of our new guide, Key Numbers to Know for 2025, by calling 800-393-4001. That number again is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange quick tip of the day. And today we're talking about estate tax reduction and asset protection strategies that can help reduce or eliminate your estate taxes. Todd, there have been major changes with the Massachusetts exemption amounts. What is the new exemption for the state? Does that mean that a married couple living in Massachusetts with $4 million in assets could eliminate their estate taxes?
So, yes, there has been some changes. Now we're almost a full year in, of course, heading into a second year into the change. The change is now $2 million. It used to be $1 million for estate tax exemption. Now it's up to $2 million. And yes, if you are married, but you actually do trust planning, you can shelter $4 million. But folks, that doesn't mean that's all you do. For folks with $3 million that want to eliminate taxes, we can do that. But we can also think about protecting assets from the cost of long-term care. It allows us to do both a little easier now with a higher estate tax exemption. So think about ways in which you can use the irrevocable trust to not only shelter and be able to reduce your estate tax by sheltering up to $2 million on the death of each spouse, but also starting that important 5-year waiting period running to protect those assets from the cost of long-term care.
The law firm of Cushing & Dolan have been helping families like yours for more than 40 years. Request your copy of Todd's brand new guide. It's called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. You can call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide from their website, LegalExchangeShow.com.
The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. If you missed any of today's show, catch up whenever you want on our YouTube page. Find daily show segments and full shows. Just go to youtube.com and search for The Financial Exchange. This is your home for breaking business and financial news. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
All right, time for trivia here on the Financial Exchange. On Saturday, at an auction in Dallas, Texas, Judy Garland's ruby slippers, worn in The Wizard of Oz, sold for a record $28 million. According to the auction house who sold the slippers, the $28 million price tag is the highest ever for a piece of entertainment memorabilia. I doubt the ruby slippers worn by Dorothy in the 1978 remake will go for that much. A trivia question today. Who played Dorothy in the 1978 movie The Wiz? Once again, who played Dorothy in the 1978 movie The Wiz? Be the fourth person today to text us at 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, and you win a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Once again, be the fourth correct response today to text us at 617-362-1385 to get that t-shirt. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Piece in the Wall Street Journal. Dividend stocks are primed for a comeback in 2025.
Sometimes Tucker just pokes the bear here. The story that we covered
Tucker
last.
totally saw this one. It was just like
Sunday morning.
Yep, toss it in there.
I saw it in my Sunday morning coffee search.
So the first ridiculous story we covered, can stocks pull off a third consecutive year of big gains? Next we get dividend stocks are primed for a comeback in 2025. Chuck, how many times have you seen this exact article written about either dividend stocks, European stocks, or small caps?
Don't forget emerging markets.
And emerging markets, yeah.
Basically every year for the last 15.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. About all four of them, frankly.
Not only has it been written, I've gone to conferences in January where this is the year for them. That's the voice they use when pitching it. So
again, past performance is not indicative of future results. Maybe it is the year for dividend stocks coming back. But if it is, and somebody's telling you so, ask them how many times they predicted that was going to be the case for the last 15 years first. Because then you can at least get at somebody's value judgment.
Well, and if someone is, like, if you're interviewing someone about this, because they did interview an investment manager in here, Chris O'Keefe, who's a portfolio manager at Logan Capital Management. And the question is, okay, like, why are you, if this is the case, you make your money based on having good performance, which means that you need to be there first. Why are you talking about how good of a year it's going to be?
Because he's already there first.
So, like, let's acknowledge the inherent potential conflict of interest.
Hey, everybody, buy my book.
And this is not to say that this is or is not going to play out. I have no idea. I say this over and over again. I don't know what stocks are going to do next year. But neither do the headline writers of the Wall Street Journal. If they did,
they wouldn't be writing headlines for the Wall Street
Journal. Actually, I take that back. I have a buddy of mine who he writes headlines for the New York Post. And man, what a job that must be.
Yeah, but if he could be making $50 million a year running a private equity fund, do you think you would take that instead?
Well,
money talks, Chuck.
Maybe. Where I was going with this is, I often say that my ideal retirement job would be like serving soft serve at Dairy Queen. It might be writing headlines for the New York Post. Because you could certainly do a lot. The Post gives you a little bit of creative latitude.
Oh, yeah.
More than the Journal, you know. So, I don't know. That's all I know is, hey, no one knows what dividend stocks are going to do next year. And the people who do, they're not publishing it in the Wall Street Journal.
Potentially newsworthy breaking news. According to CNBC, a man is being questioned in Pennsylvania regarding the United Healthcare CEO slaying.
We'll see what comes of it.
Yep.
Apple topping the list of best managed companies of 2024. Who do they interview for the best managed companies?
The managers?
So here's the thing. This is the manage. I'm going to quote here from the Wall Street Journal because it kind of answers this. The management top 250 ranking. So this is the Wall Street Journal's list.
Yep.
Compares companies using the late management guru Peter Drucker's principles to identify the most effectively managed businesses. This year, 842 companies were graded in 5 categories: customer satisfaction, innovation, social responsibility, employee engagement and development, and financial strength, based on 35 indicators supplied by third-party data providers. So they're not interviewing anyone.
They're not.
Except kind of with employee engagement and development and customer satisfaction.
Yeah, but they're not doing the interviewing.
Correct.
They're grabbing somebody else's data.
So a couple interesting things here on this because, again, I don't know how one simply... Doesn't it almost seem kind of lazy that Apple gets to win this?
Yeah, where's the cut? Like, you'd like to see some company that nobody's ever heard of at least making somewhere in the ranking.
And not just that, Apple not only nabbed the number one spot on the list, but also managed to emerge as the only all-star in this year's ranking.
You're telling me that there's not some 8-person company based in Boise that's running things a little bit better than Apple?
Right. There has to be some guy who's written the Excel code that powers the Pentagon that's getting paid a boatload because he just is the only person in the world that can do it, who's a little bit more, but I get what they're doing.
I hear he's not terribly socially responsible, though, Chuck.
The customer top 10. So this one's interesting to me. This is customer satisfaction.
Yep, I like this one.
Number 1, not Apple, Iron Mountain.
Raise your hand if you don't know what we're talking about. I know both of us know what they do.
Sure.
But, shredding and data storage and destruction company.
The number 1 for customer satisfaction. To be fair, you got to be pretty bad at shredding if you have low customer satisfaction.
Okay. Yep.
The only way that you get low satisfaction as a shredder...
Data breach.
Okay, there's 2 options. 1, data breach. 2, your customer finds an unshredded document behind the truck as they're driving away.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yeah, 100%.
Number 2 for highest customer satisfaction. This one's really interesting to me. Intel.
Very good to their customers, not very good at much else.
Yeah.
Right?
The number 3 one, Ball, Ball. You familiar with them, Mike?
No.
Tucker, you familiar with them?
Nope.
Tennis ball?
You ever drink beer out of a mason jar?
No.
They make
ball
mason jars.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, ball jars.
Them.
They
Okay.
make mason jars.
Yeah.
They're also the naming sponsor for some NBA arena.
Why are you drinking beer out of a mason jar, just to clarify?
It's from a Kenny Chesney song.
Oh, okay.
Could have went with a
He
pickle.
drank beer out of a mason. It was about the dog,
Got it.
Bocephus.
Got it.
He was living in the front yard.
Got it.
Anyways, but yeah, so Ball sponsors an NBA arena, which is kind of the most under the radar sponsor. Hey, what do? We make old school mason jars.
I'll tell you what, we've done the same thing for 250 years.
Why are you on an NBA floor as the arena sponsor? Well, we ran out of mason jars. We sold too many. Owens Corning, Estee Lauder, Deere, Johnson Controls, Prologis, Caterpillar, and Train Technologies. Just kind of a weird list. There's no
rhyme or reason.
I guess it's a lot of industrial companies. Again, B2B.
Yeah.
It's a lot of B2B on that.
The financial strength, they're just the largest companies out there, the most profitable companies out there. So don't pay attention to that. That's not important.
Right. NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft. Great.
Cool. Employee top 10. I don't know. This is somewhat interesting.
Yeah,
so,
I like this.
Texas Pacific Land.
What is that?
No clue. Look it up while we go. NVIDIA's number 2. So, for what it's worth, people who worked at NVIDIA probably made a whole boatload of money on stock options over the last few years, so are probably pretty happy about where they work. Intuit, ServiceNow, Autodesk, Cadence Design Systems, Adobe, Cisco, and Conoco are actually tied for 8th and 9th, and then Microsoft and Philip Morris being tied for number 10.
You ever run across a Wikipedia page that just makes you giggle?
Yes, frequently.
The Texas Pacific Land Corporation. It's a publicly traded real estate operating with an administrative office in Dallas, Texas. It owns over 880,000 acres of land in 20 West Texas counties. It's among the largest private landowners in the state of Texas. TPL has 2 business lines: royalties from oil and gas and selling water.
Okay. Straightforward business.
But, it's just one of those where you read it and you go, yep, I get exactly what they did. They bought up a whole bunch of land, and now they're just selling the mineral rights to it.
I hope they have like 70 employees, and they're making the top 10 list of employee set.
Mike, 99.
How does the Wall Street Journal find these companies?
Revenue, $631 million. Operating income, $486. Of course they're on the employee top 10. They all make $5 million.
Quick break.
Quick break. Trivia answers next.
Bringing the latest financial news straight to your radio every day. It's the Financial Exchange on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Financial Exchange and Veterans Development Corporation are proud partners of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for single veterans and for those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit davma.org. That's davma.org.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
Early estate planning is crucial if you want to protect your assets and avoid massive tax consequences. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law and taxation, and their new free guide can help give you just that. It's called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. In it, you'll learn how to keep your assets away from the nursing home while reducing and potentially eliminating your estate taxes. If you have an existing estate plan but aren't sure about your potential liability, or you need a new plan, call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699 and get this free guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. Don't leave your assets to chance. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request your guide online from our website, LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way, so whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all three islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our guide this month is titled Key Numbers to Know for 2025. Mike, when it comes to 401ks and their contribution limits, 2025 is a little bit unique in that it is the first year of the super catch-up limit.
It is, yeah. So there's a brand new contribution excess amount that you can put into your retirement plan, but only for a very specific window. You must be between the ages of 60 and 63 to participate in this special super catch-up contribution, according to the Secure Act 2.0. And so there's a little bit extra that you might be able to put in if you fall into that age demographic.
So how much is the normal 401k max? How much is the regular catch-up? And then how much is the super catch-up?
Yeah, so for the normal 401k contribution limits, the most that you can put in 2025 is going to be $23,500. If you are over the age of 50, you can do an extra $7,500 into that 401k. And then finally, if you just happen to be in that narrow band, you can do an additional $3,750 catch-up contribution on top of everything else that we already went through.
Folks, our guide this month is titled Key Numbers to Know for 2025, and this is just one of the numbers that's included in it. We also have discussions about IRA contribution limits, tax brackets, a whole bunch of different things that are included in here. How do you request the guide? Call 800-393-4001. That number again to request the guide is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Like us on YouTube and get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Trivia question today was, who played Dorothy in the 1978 movie The Wiz? That would be Diana Ross. That featured Diana Ross as Dorothy, Michael Jackson as Scarecrow, and Richard Pryor as The Wiz. Even with that star power, The Wiz failed at the box office and ultimately lost the studio $10 million. Katie from Pembroke, Mass. is our winner today, taking home the Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. And we play trivia every day here on the Financial Exchange. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Mike, we got a piece here today. It is from Barron's. It's titled 7 Seniors Tell Why They Won't Retire. It isn't about the money.
Just to make a point about how common this is today, either of you have any guesses as to what portion of 65-plus-year-olds without a disability are still working right now? So percentage-wise.
38.
Less.
27.
23. Good job. Good guess, Tucker. The highest it's ever been was right before the COVID crisis at 25.2%. Actually, I'm going to take that back because we don't have data going back any further than 08. So I don't know where this was back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Probably lower.
But yeah, this is a growing trend that it was probably lower at any point in history. And I don't know. I'll talk about this firsthand, Chuck. I would say that many of my happiest clients as like a financial investment advisor are those that worked pretty continuously into their late 60s and early 70s in sometimes very different roles than their primary profession when they were working, earning the most that they possibly could, but quite content, very sharp, and in a way that I think many of my other clients who just, cut all ties and leave work at a specific point have been in their retirements.
Yeah, and I think it's something where, look, each of us has kind of our own thoughts about what we want to be doing when we, get older and into and close to retirement. And again, it can simply be, hey, I do want to keep sharp, and it is, that thing that keeps, getting me out of bed every morning. It can be, hey, I do want to lose the stress of what I was doing, but I still want to do something, and that still gets people, to not retire. But it's true. It's not always about the money as far as why someone decides to retire or not. It can be very much, personality trait driven and things along those lines as well.
So, I mean, I know I just did say, hey, 23% of 65-plus-year-olds today are working in a job, and I think it's very common. But one thing I will say is more common than seeing people work into their 70s, for example, is people continue to work because they just have no idea whether or not they have enough money to retire. Like, I know this article is all about, hey, it's not about the money for me. I can't tell you how many people I talk to who come in and say, I'm 66 years old, I'm 70 years old, I've still been working, I've just had my head down, I have no clue whether or not I can actually afford to retire based on what I'm doing right now. I think I might be able to, but I don't really know, or maybe they're 61 and have this dream of retiring at 65, but I've never actually run the numbers to analyze whether or not they can effectively retire. And speaking with all of the financial advisors that work at Armstrong, I can tell you one of the most rewarding things that we do as primarily retirement planners and financial advisors is being able to tell somebody that, oh yeah, like, love that you love your job and you're going to keep working till 68 years old. That's great. But just so you know, we can make this work if you wanted to retire or needed to retire at 66. The look of sometimes astonishment, but oftentimes just relief in knowing, hey, I love this job. I'm going to continue working. But if it doesn't work out the way I like it to, I've got the security and peace of mind of knowing that I can make it without this income. That's, to me, the single biggest piece of retirement planning and financial planning is that check mark saying, yeah, I know now that if this job doesn't work out or it becomes too stressful or my health deteriorates in some way, shape, or form, that I can afford to retire. And maybe I can even do it a few years earlier than I thought I could. If you are thinking about that, if you have those questions in the back of your mind and are not 100% confident in the answer, I just can tell you what a stress relief it has been for people that I've worked with when they know the answer to that question. If you're trying to answer it on your own and would like a little bit of help with it, please call the Armstrong Advisory Group at 800-393-4001. We offer free consultations to folks that are trying to answer those types of questions, and you can meet with us in person, over the phone, via Zoom, but start off by giving us a call at 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
I want to talk about retail returns. Tuck, how often do you buy something either in person or online and you're like, man, it's not working, got to return it?
I mean, it's more often my wife that does this because she wants to try something for the kids and then it doesn't fit. It's a whole thing. So, I don't know, 40% of the time, 30% of the time.
Like, how many times a month does that work out to?
I don't know.
I'm
Two?
I'm just asking questions,
a month?
man.
Two?
I'm just wondering.
Maybe less? I don't know.
Mike, what about you?
Yeah, 2 to 4.
On a monthly basis?
Yeah.
I might have a dozen of these a year, so maybe like one, maybe two. But retail returns are expected to total $890 billion this year, 17% of all goods sold.
Just a giant trash heap.
And look, if I'm being completely honest, I have something in the backseat of my car right now that I need to return. But the reason I'm returning that is because it was damaged upon shipping, and so hey, if you're buying something new, I don't want it to be damaged. Like, the box had a big hole punched in it when we got it. So, problematic. But when we talk about all of these returns, there's a couple different things that are problems about it. The first is, hey, you're basically paying either you or the company. Like, someone's paying a bunch of money just to ship stuff back and forth. So, it's not efficient from that perspective. Second piece, hey, you're also using a whole bunch of gas in order to do that. There's finite resources. You got concerns about, climate change and things like that. You say, okay, like, this is not exactly what we want to be doing, just like shipping stuff back and forth.
Right.
The third piece, if you're a retailer, hey, you're having to deal with like figuring out what your inventory looks like and hey, how much am I expecting to be returned and this and that. I just wonder, do we get to a point where this has been creeping up for years? Like last year, the return rate was about 15%. This year, it's 17%. At what point does Amazon or Walmart or whoever say, hey, you're a high-volume returner. We're capping your returns because you're abusing the process. And here's where it's going to be. It's going to be where we're losing so much money on you that it's not worth it for us anymore to have your business.
Yeah, that one's going to be probably tough to implement, right? The reason that, or part of the reason that online shopping has been so successful is because whether it's true or not, they at least stand behind the idea of an easy-to-process return. And so they have entire business lines that if they start cutting out on this, it'll be challenging. But I will say that there are businesses that have been really, really successful in conveying that you won't be able to return this. Look at Temu and what's the other Chinese? Shine. Like, good luck returning something that you brought on either of those platforms to that retailer. It's not going to happen.
Do they not have I don't know their platforms at all.
I have no idea, but it's shipping directly from China. I don't even know what the process would look like, and I assume you would pay a fair bit in order to return it. I think that there actually could be a separate business model that Amazon would have to segregate, but like, hey, the stuff here is pretty cheap, but we don't do returns. You don't like it?
I think they
would
have elsewhere. I mean, think about how many other businesses, when someone's abusing the privileges,
just boot them out,
just throttle. Like,
yeah.
Think about, and I know that like no one really likes the cable companies, but hey, if you are downloading 5 trillion shows a day, eventually you get to a point where they're like, no, you're not getting any more bandwidth.
Right. Yeah, so I guess that could just be a membership piece of Prime is, hey, you get 30 free returns per year.
You could even make tiers of Prime.
Yeah.
Hey, you pay the base rate? Great, you're going to get 25 free returns. You want more than that? You want between, 26 and 50? It's an extra $20. You want 50 plus? It's an extra $100 a year. Okay, like that's reasonable. Because as someone who doesn't return a ton of stuff,
you're just paying for all the rest of us.
I'm paying for all your returns, man. Yeah. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Now, the obvious other way that you do this is, okay, go to another retailer, but this is not an Amazon-only thing. This is an everyone thing right now.
Yeah. The counterpoint to this would be this is pretty much what the airlines have done, is create a whole bunch of different levels of pricing and tiering and ancillary fees, and people aren't terribly happy with that either. So I don't know. Right now it's all bundled, right? Whether you return or not, it's the same price. If you want to start unbundling it, I'm sure other people will not be terribly excited about that.
I don't want to pay for their returns, Mike.
Hear ya.
I don't need that. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, let's do a little bit of Stack Roulette.
Breaking business and financial news first throughout the day. Only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Early estate planning is crucial if you want to protect your assets and avoid massive tax consequences. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law and taxation, and their new free guide can help give you just that. It's called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. In it, you'll learn how to keep your assets away from the nursing home while reducing and potentially eliminating your estate taxes. If you have an existing estate plan but aren't sure about your potential liability, or you need a new plan, call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699 and get this free guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. Don't leave your assets to chance. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request your guide online from our website, LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way, so whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Planning for later life is a year-round effort, and with the calendar about to change, there are several important numbers to understand as we turn to the new year. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. In our new guide called Key Numbers to Know for 2025, we'll discuss a variety of topics that may help you with your planning for the upcoming year. The guide focuses on many subjects, among them numbers related to retirement account income and gifting limits, Medicare Part B premiums, and marginal tax brackets, all of which are crucial to your overall planning strategy. Learn about how these numbers may affect your financial plan in 2025 by calling our office today at 800-393-4001. Ask for your free guide called Key Numbers to Know for 2025. That number again is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
This segment of the Financial Exchange is brought to you in part by the U.S. Virgin Islands Department of Tourism. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. With winter on the horizon, now's the time to start looking at a fabulous holiday vacation, and there's no better place than the U.S. Virgin Islands. Enjoy perfect weather, world-class dining, incredible beaches, and a vibrant nightlife. No passport is needed, and there's no money to exchange. Take your next vacation in America's Caribbean paradise, the United States Virgin Islands. Go to visitusvi.com to book your trip. That's visitusvi.com.
Mike, what do you got for Stack Roulette?
I want to talk a bit about cash. Payments increasingly going digital. Many, including our senior population, still relying on cash. But this is no longer just at sports venues, right? That's kind of where, I don't know, is there anything that occurred first before that to you, like where cash was just eliminated entirely? To me, that was the first.
That was up
place,
there, like kind
Fenway
of the big one.
And other places that you just can't use cash anymore, and it's, I don't think causing massive problems, but it's one thing when it's a sports venue when you can fairly readily use the tools there to convert cash into a debit card or something else along those lines. When we're now getting to the place where it's in a lot of other locations, they talk about a hot dog vendor, they talk about plenty of other locations where, airplanes, you can't use cash on an airplane, and many other places, that it's just being banned entirely, and I guess poses a few problems. One, problems for people that are just unfamiliar with the technology, which these days is few and far between.
Sure.
There's problems for those that are unbanked, so you literally don't have a bank account. How do you process things? You can't. The third would be, in the event of a severe disruption to power or internet, then you suddenly just have no means of processing payments, which is probably a bigger issue if I think about potential hacking and things like that.
Well, and look, the other thing, all those systems are inherently vulnerable. If you have all the financial information for millions of people housed at one bank, that becomes a target in a way that, hey, if you're just holding cash, someone has to specifically try to find you.
That said, the guy selling hot dogs in Chicago, who is getting robbed every 6 months, and either by his employees or by people at gunpoint taking cash out of the system, kind of get why they want to move to electronic processing, and I bet it's cut way down on theft.
So it's something where there are pros and cons on this. I'm a big believer that unless you want to guarantee people access to the banking system, which is what you need in order to get a debit card or credit card, then you need to build provisions in so that you can accept cash or accept the exchange into, a card system from cash like they do at ballparks and stuff like that.
But whose responsibility is that? Right? Because if I'm the hot dog vendor, I don't think it's my responsibility.
No,
it's a tough one, right? Like, I'm not going to put that on the small business.
I don't have a good answer on it.
Right.
It's
some governments, by the way, have said, I don't think I've seen it at the state level, but I think some governments have said, no, you must accept cash if you are conducting business within this city or this town.
I don't love forcing people, like businesses, to accept cash if they don't want to.
Nor do I.
So this is one of those where I simply nod my head and say, not my problem.
Yeah, I don't have a great answer to it.
I don't have a good answer on this as to how you actually go about building an enforceable, fair policy.
Payment
it's just
system.
kind of messy. This piece from the Wall Street Journal: the key to affordable living is moving in with your sibling. Interesting. What this is talking about is saying, hey, it's becoming harder to rent or buy a home, and so people are living with their siblings. It's predominantly talking about people in their 20s, which I'm not sure how that's different from I think the term is roommate.
I don't really understand why they do this grand expose on Grant and Dylan Getchman, who are
25.
Who are 25 years old and renting an apartment with their twin brother and some other
twins.
guy.
Right. Like,
that's not that strange.
That's called being 25. Hey, who do you live with when you're 25? I don't know, a bunch of random people because you're 25 and don't have enough money anyways.
Now, someone else said that they've noticed an uptick in other areas, which is different. Sherry Campbell, a certified financial planner, noticed a small but significant rise in clients managing finances while owning a home with a sibling. Mainly, they're talking about women in their 50s who are looking for some sort of support if going through a divorce. That's different.
Sure.
That would be a different trend if we started to see that. And I could buy that one because of the cost of housing being so utterly insane these days that you're going through a divorce and there's not enough assets there to split up and still own a home.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. But the story about the 25-year-old twins living together?
It's just called being a 25-year-old.
Right. It's I'll tell you this. There aren't many 25-year-olds that can afford to live on their own anywhere at any time
in the world.
History. It's just it's kind of impractical. What else you got?
Taylor Swift's final tally on her Eras tour, which, I mean, how long did this thing last? Like
2 years.
2 years Era tour, 21 months. She racked up a whopping $2 billion and change in just ticket sales.
Is that good?
That is twice the closest record.
Now, to be fair, this was a 149-stop tour, so it was also one of the longest that we've seen. But yeah, just monster numbers as far as the overall ticket sales there. I mean, she played Wembley for 8 nights and sold 753,000 tickets. That's almost 1 million people in a single location. I couldn't give away T-shirts to 1 million people in 8 days if I tried to. Because they'd be bad T-shirts.
There's nothing that can compare to what the economic effect of this thing has been.
Taking a look at markets, the Dow is flat now. The S&P still down 21 points, NASDAQ down 80. So tech stocks struggling today as other ones try to hold the line. We're done for the day. We'll see you tomorrow on the Financial Exchange.